10 reasons you should not take prednisone long term. And these are the top 10 side effects. So, number one side effect that people complain about the most in forums for sure is moon face. Moon face is when your face becomes round like the moon. There's fat deposited on your cheeks, chin, maybe even your shoulder and your belly, redistributed from other places in your body and placed there. And it's not flattering. People like me who've had to take prednisone long term can tell you that even Apple's face recognition software won't recognize the change in your appearance. It's so discouraging and miserable. I hated the way I looked while on prednisone. I took very few pictures because I didn't want that part of my life recorded. I didn't want proof that I had taken high doses of prednisone. Looking back, I kind of wish I did. But now, moon face is not something you want. So that's the first one. The second one is related to it. One of the reasons we get moon face is because our body is changing our metabolism in response to the prednisone. It means we're having high blood glucose. High blood glucose leads to diabetes and impaired insulin usage. Your body is resistant to insulin while on prednisone, and the combination of the high blood sugar and the insulin resistance can lead to diabetes. And so that's a complication nobody wants, but definitely can happen as number two. Number three, and directly related to this, is when we have all this extra sugar floating around, it has to have somewhere to go. And in addition to that, prednisone is turning on the gas for your hunger signals and lifting off the brake for your fullness signals. So you feel the need to eat, and nothing is stopping you. Ghrelin specifically is not doing its job, and you're feeling the hunger signals. So the combination of that plus water changes from your kidneys leads to weight gain. And 70% of people who take prednisone gain weight. And this is miserable. I talked to my doctor and I said, hey, what do I do about the prednisone weight gain? She said, if I knew, I would make $1 million and I would quit being a doctor. It's real weight gain. It's not like having a baby and it doesn't just immediately go away, unfortunately. But it is real, and one of the long-term reasons you shouldn't take prednisone if you don't have to. And as a caveat, really quick, if you have to take prednisone long-term like I did, then you should take prednisone long-term. This is a conversation between you and your doctor. I'm talking to people like this one guy who called me. He's like, hey, I just want to take prednisone every day, like really high doses. I think I'm going to feel awesome because I felt really good for those 5 days when I was on it. And I said, nope, this is a terrible, bad idea. So this video is for people like that who are choosing to do so and not who have to. Like I had to take prednisone for 8 months. I had no choice. I would die. I would bleed to death otherwise. So this video is for people who are like, hey, wouldn't it be nice if I had this extreme euphoria and energy and stuff every day? Wouldn't I be awesome? By the way, the euphoria goes away. The energy goes away. It dives. So, number 4, reason you should not take prednisone long-term is the effects it has on your immune system. People are usually taking prednisone for the immune system. I had an autoimmune condition, so we give prednisone. It helps counteract that. My immune system stops attacking itself, and I'm good. But it can also lead to increased risk for infections. Things like pneumonia, yeast infections, sepsis, cellulitis, and herpes zoster are all a greater risk while taking prednisone long-term than if you were not to have taken prednisone. So you don't want to be dying of sepsis or pneumonia or anything like that. So if you can, get to the lowest effective dose for you. Okay, number 5 is the adrenal system. So prednisone is an adrenal hormone. It is replacing our body's naturally occurring hormone called cortisol. And so when you take prednisone pills, it shuts off your HPA axis, your brain, hypothalamus, pituitary, HP, adrenal axis. It shuts off that whole system. So that leads to adrenal insufficiency. And basically, you are not making cortisol. You are not using your adrenal gland properly. It shrinks, it atrophies. So you have to give it time to recover. And for some people who are on it long term, they may never recover the ability to make their own cortisol again. So you don't want that. Number 6, side effects on the heart. This is the 6th reason not to take prednisone long term. And that is that prednisone is making your heart work harder. It's leading to high blood pressure. It's leading to increased risk for arrhythmias and fatal cardiac arrests or heart attacks. So those are rare, quite rare, but you don't want to be putting any undue burden on your heart that you don't have to. Number 7, your eyes. So there are 2 main side effects when it comes to your eyes that are permanent long-term side effects. And the first one is glaucoma. Now, glaucoma is when there's an increased pressure inside the eyeball, and that pressure can lead to blindness. And so there are things your eye doctor can do, but the damage done when there's high pressures is not reversible and can lead to blindness. And that brings us to number 8, which is cataracts. Cataracts is when there is a narrowing of your vision because you can no longer see. There's something inside the lens area that's blocking you from seeing. It's called a cataract. And you can have cataract surgery to replace the lens and things like that, but it is a permanent long-term side effect. Even can happen in young people. You normally think of cataracts in old people, but nope, it can happen in young people too. Number 9 reason you don't want to take prednisone long-term is osteonecrosis. Necra means death. Osteo means bone. So we're talking about bone death caused by prednisone. Usually on the very top of the long bone in your leg, this head, it's called the femoral head, can start dying. And the only thing you can possibly do is an entire hip replacement. And that is horrible, especially if you were otherwise healthy and now suddenly your hip isn't working. So osteonecrosis is a horrible thing that can happen, but usually only associated with prednisone use. Finally, number 10 is osteoporosis. So osteoporosis, osteo meaning bone, porosis meaning porous or thin, bone that's thinned out. So normally your bone's like this, joined tightly, and then when you have prednisone or osteoporosis in other ways, there's suddenly bigger spaces, there's less density, there's less protein and calcium holding your bones together. The collagen drops, the calcium drops, magnesium drops, and all of those together lead to an increased risk for fractures. So broken bones, broken hip bones, broken spine, like your spine collapsing upon itself, and just other broken bones, like having it easier to break your foot, break your ankle, break your wrist. All of those are signs of osteoporosis, and also a loss of height. That's showing that you've lost some of your spine bone strength. So osteoporosis is such a concern that the doctors who prescribe prednisone the most created a guideline specifically for this. They want you to do whatever you can to prevent osteoporosis if you have to take prednisone long term. So if you want to know all the details about what you can do to prevent osteoporosis and some of these other side effects, you need to download my prednisone checklist. It includes those guidelines from the doctors of exactly what you can do to decrease your risk for osteoporosis, plus guidelines about other diseases and what you can do to improve your benefits from prednisone, to decrease your risks, to improve your chances that you will stay healthy and not suffer these long-term consequences. So just click the link to download the prednisone checklist I created for you, and you'll know exactly what's in your power to change so that you can feel as well as possible while taking prednisone. Signing off as Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist.